Now, Ford is recalling more than 500,000 F-150 pickup trucks.
Ford says it's due to transmission issues.
These 10 pickup trucks are now selling for pennies compared to what owners paid. And the trigger wasn't a recall or a recession. It was refund demand exploding behind the scenes. As buyers pushed back on overhyped pricing, dealers quietly stopped overpaying. Auctions stopped supporting inflated values, and resale protection vanished almost overnight. Trucks that once looked immune to depreciation are now being dumped at steep losses, as confidence collapses faster than supply ever did. This isn't speculation or fear-mongering. It's already visible in auction lanes, lender models, and dealer appraisals nationwide. The market has entered its correction phase, and hesitation is making it worse. So, which trucks cracked first? Why did refund pressure accelerate depreciation? And who's about to feel the next drop? Ford Maverick Hybrid. Nobody expected the smallest pickup on the road to become one of the loudest warning signs in the current truck collapse. When the Maverick Hybrid entered the market, it was positioned as a breakthrough, promising efficiency, compact proportions, and everyday utility at a price level full-size trucks abandoned long ago. Early production limits created artificial scarcity, order banks filled instantly, and resale prices detached from reality almost overnight. That imbalance did not last. Production scaled rapidly through 2022 and 2023. Inventory normalized, and the sense of exclusivity vanished. At the same time, quality complaints, recall notices, and extended service delays began circulating widely across ownership reports and dealer networks. Refund requests followed, driven less by catastrophic failure, and more by frustration with expectations that no longer matched reality. Wholesale data makes the correction impossible to ignore. Units that once sold above original sticker pricing are now trading significantly lower, with auction results resetting quarter after quarter. Dealers have stopped chasing volume, trade offers have tightened, and unsold listings are sitting longer as prices search for equilibrium. Rising interest rates removed the last justification for paying premiums on compact pickups that are no longer rare. The emotional shift mirrored the financial one. What once felt exclusive quickly became ordinary, and ordinary vehicles do not carry speculative value during a market correction. The Maverick Hybrid remains useful, efficient, and practical, but those strengths do not shield it from depreciation when supply exceeds sentiment. As newer builds compete directly with earlier models at similar pricing, the downside pressure intensifies. This moment marks the quiet phase of the truck downturn, where affordability stops offering protection and value begins behaving like a commodity. Scarcity collapsed quietly here, but the next truck shows what happens when sheer volume turns a mainstream favorite into a liability. It also signals a shift in how quickly enthusiasm can reverse when production outpaces demand, incentives return, and once celebrated pricing stories collapse under basic supply math and tightening credit realities, setting the stage for an even sharper example, waiting just ahead in the countdown. Next moments like this one reveals Chevrolet Silverado 1500 RST. Volume can hide weakness until the moment demand blinks, and everything underneath starts to slide. This truck rode the hottest part of the post-shortage surge, moving in massive numbers while pricing quietly inflated beyond what long-term demand could support. During 2021 and 2022, dealers pushed the RST trim hard, stacking inventory and leaning on low-interest financing to keep monthly payments looking manageable. When rates climbed and incentives returned, the illusion cracked fast. Auction lanes tell the real story. Silverado RST units that once traded near original sticker are now clearing thousands lower, often with minimal bidding pressure. Dealers who stocked deep are watching days on lot stretch longer each month, forcing price cuts that ripple across the used market. Refund disputes and pricing complaints followed as owners realized newer trucks were being advertised for less than what they paid not long ago. The emotional damage here is sharper than the numbers suggest. This was marketed as the sweet spot trim, modern styling without luxury excess. Yet it is behaving like a volume commodity in a correction cycle. When supply overwhelms sentiment, brand loyalty does not stop depreciation, it accelerates it. Production scale became the liability. General Motors built these trucks efficiently and relentlessly, and now that pipeline is colliding with tighter credit and cautious retail behavior. Trade offers have softened, private listings linger, and wholesale buyers are unwilling to speculate while factory incentives remain active. At present pricing, the Silverado RST no longer benefits from perceived balance. It is exposed to every market headwind at once: rising rates, inventory pressure, and buyer fatigue. What once felt like a safe middle ground has become a reminder that scale cuts both ways. Scale worked until it didn't, and the following entry proves luxury trims fall even harder when demand hesitates. If this breakdown is already saving you money, hit like, subscribe for weekly market analysis, and comment with the truck that shocked you most so far. Engagement tells this platform to surface real data instead of dealer narratives nationwide today. GMC Sierra 1500 Denali. Luxury stops being protection the moment payments outrun patience. The Sierra 1500 Denali entered the market as a rolling statement, wrapped in chrome, stitched leather, and pricing that assumed demand would never blink. During 2021 and 2022, buyers absorbed inflated stickers because supply was tight and prestige felt permanent. That confidence dissolved once interest. Rates climbed and inventory quietly returned. Wholesale lanes now reflect that reversal. Denali units that once commanded near original pricing are clearing far lower, often after multiple passes. Dealers report extended days on lot, shrinking bid activity, and growing resistance from lenders unwilling to justify luxury payments on depreciating assets. Refund pressure followed, as owners noticed identical trucks advertised for less than their remaining loan balances. The financial shift is only half the damage. The emotional appeal that separated Denali from standard trims weakened as monthly costs surged. When a premium badge no longer delivers payment comfort, the market strips it down to numbers. At 7 to 8% financing, the same truck that once felt attainable becomes a liability overnight. General Motors' production strategy amplified the problem. Denali trims were built aggressively to meet luxury demand that no longer exists at the same scale. As incentives returned on new inventory, used pricing lost its anchor. Trade offers dropped first, then private listings followed, and finally, wholesale values reset lower across the board. What remains is a truck still capable, still refined, but exposed. Luxury does not collapse because quality disappears. It collapses because confidence does. Once hesitation sets in, the premium evaporates faster than depreciation models ever predicted. This shift has reshaped dealer behavior nationwide, tightening trade evaluations, increasing appraisal volatility, and forcing rapid repricing cycles. The result is a market where hesitation compounds losses, and delayed decisions magnify exposure as comparable listings reset lower week after week nationwide today. At current conditions, the Sierra 1500 Denali behaves less like a flagship and more like an over-leveraged asset, searching for equilibrium. The badge still carries weight, but weight does not stop gravity when the market tilts. Prestige faded under pressure, and the next truck reveals how technology can accelerate that same collapse. Ford F150 PowerBoost Hybrid. Technology promises efficiency until uncertainty turns that promise into hesitation. The F150 PowerBoost Hybrid arrived as a bold pivot, blending a turbocharged engine with electric assistance and positioning itself as the future of full-size pickups. Early enthusiasm was strong, fueled by claims of improved fuel economy, onboard power capability, and smooth performance. During 2021 and 2022, orders surged while production lagged, creating brief pricing strength that masked deeper concerns. As inventory expanded, buyer sentiment shifted. Real-world fuel economy failed to separate itself meaningfully from conventional powertrains, and questions about long-term hybrid durability began circulating widely. Replacement costs, battery longevity, and post-warranty exposure became central talking points, triggering refund pressure from owners who felt the premium no longer made sense. Wholesale results reflect that erosion. PowerBoost units now clear noticeably below comparable gasoline trims, often requiring multiple listing adjustments before attracting bids. Dealers report extended holding periods and reduced appraisal confidence, especially as manufacturer incentives on new builds compress the price gap between new and used inventory. Financing adds another layer of stress, with higher rates magnifying payment differences buyers are unwilling to absorb. Emotionally, the shift is decisive. Traditional pickup demand values simplicity and predictability, and hybrid complexity disrupts that comfort. When confidence fades, hesitation spreads quickly, and hesitation is poison for resale stability. What once felt advanced now feels unproven at exactly the wrong moment in the market cycle. Ford's production volume compounds the problem. PowerBoost availability is no longer limited, removing scarcity from the equation entirely. As newer models compete directly with earlier builds, depreciation accelerates, and refund disputes grow louder across regional markets nationwide today. Innovation lost its shine here, while the next entry shows what happens when a nameplate loses confidence entirely. Nissan Titan. Momentum disappears fastest, where confidence was already thin. The Nissan Titan entered the modern truck market fighting uphill, carrying solid hardware but never earning the resale trust enjoyed by long-established rivals. During 2021 and 2022, aggressive incentives masked that weakness, pushing volume while quietly undermining long-term value. When market conditions tightened, that hidden flaw surfaced immediately. Auction data shows the fallout clearly. Titans that once required rebates to move when new now struggled to attract bids used. Wholesale values reset sharply lower as dealers refused to carry inventory that lingered. Trade offers softened first, then private listings stalled, and finally, pricing gaps widened until sellers capitulated. Refund pressure emerged as owners realized identical trucks were being discounted again and again with no floor in sight. The emotional damage compounds the financial hit. Resale confidence is everything in this segment, and once hesitation takes hold, it spreads quickly. Titans became viewed as inventory risk, not opportunity. Dealers openly avoided them, citing slow turn rates and unpredictable buyer interest. Days on lot stretched from weeks into months, locking up capital and forcing losses just to clear space. Incentive strategy accelerated the decline. Continuous rebates on new models collapsed the used market by erasing the price separation buyers rely on. When a brand teaches shoppers to wait for discounts, residual values never recover. Each incentive cycle reinforced the perception that paying full price was a mistake, and that perception stuck. This is how depreciation turns structural. Not because the product fails catastrophically, but because confidence never forms strongly enough to survive a downturn. The Titan became collateral damage in a market that suddenly demanded certainty and punished anything viewed as optional. At present conditions, the Titan behaves less like a competitive, full-size pickup and more like a cautionary asset, priced to move rather than to hold. Utility remains, but value retention does not, and the gap between those two realities defines the loss owners face. This slide happened without headlines, and the midpoint of this list marks where losses become structurally unavoidable. Toyota Tundra, new generation. A reputation built over decades can crack faster than anyone expects when trust is tested under real market pressure. The new generation Tundra arrived carrying enormous expectations. Tasked with replacing one of the most trusted powertrains in pickup history, Toyota shifted away from the long-standing 8-cylinder formula and introduced a twin turbocharged 6-cylinder architecture paired with advanced electronics and optional hybrid complexity. That decision reshaped the entire value conversation. During 2022 and 2023, pricing stayed elevated as supply tightened and brand loyalty absorbed the risk. That insulation faded quickly. Reports of vibration, drivetrain hesitation, software glitches, and inconsistent build quality began circulating widely. Refund pressure followed as confidence cracked where it was never supposed to. Wholesale data confirms the shift. New generation Tundras now clear auctions at levels that would have been unthinkable for the badge just months earlier. Trade offers tightened, listings linger longer, and the once legendary resale curve flattened. The premium associated with performance trims compressed sharply, as hesitation replaced enthusiasm. Emotionally, this reversal cuts deeper than numbers alone suggest. Toyota earned its reputation by being predictable. Predictability is the currency of trust, and once it weakens, the market reacts without mercy. What once felt unshakable now feels uncertain at exactly the wrong moment in the cycle. Production volume magnified the impact. As newer units competed directly with earlier builds, depreciation accelerated instead of stabilizing. The two-tier market became visible, with older generation models holding ground while newer versions reset lower. This is where perception changes permanently, and recovery becomes measured in years rather than quarters as sentiment resets slowly against financial reality. What comes next demonstrates how rapidly value collapses once pricing authority is lost entirely. Brand trust cracked in this case, and the following truck proves price authority can vanish even faster. Subscribe now to stay ahead of price cuts, refund pressure, and sudden value shifts across the truck market. These breakdowns track what auctions, lenders, and manufacturers react to first, long before pricing changes reach listings or headlines across the country. Ford F150 Lightning. The fall accelerates fastest when expectations are priced ahead of reality. The F150 Lightning entered the market as a cultural moment, framed as the electric future of the most recognizable pickup platform in history. Early demand surged through 2022 as limited supply, aggressive marketing, and optimism combined to support pricing far above historical norms. That momentum reversed with stunning speed once conditions changed. The first fracture came from pricing authority. Manufacturer adjustments cut new truck prices sharply, erasing thousands in value overnight for existing owners. That single move reset the entire market. Wholesale results followed immediately, with Lightning units clearing auctions far below recent transactions. Listings multiplied, bids softened, and depreciation compressed into months instead of years. Range anxiety amplified the decline. Real-world towing performance exposed limitations that undermined confidence, especially in colder climates and longer-haul scenarios. Charging infrastructure gaps further narrowed appeal. As uncertainty spread, refund pressure escalated, driven by frustration rather than mechanical failure. The emotional shift was decisive. Early adopters believed they were buying into stability and innovation. Instead, they watched values slide as incentives returned and inventory stacked. The psychological impact of seeing a nearly identical truck advertised for dramatically less cannot be overstated. Confidence evaporated, and with it, resale insulation. Financing magnified the pain. Higher interest rates turned already premium pricing into untenable monthly obligations. Lenders adjusted risk models, dealers adjusted appraisals, and trade values dropped again. Each step reinforced the next, creating a feedback loop that punished hesitation and rewarded delay. Insurance costs added pressure. Repair complexity, parts availability, and limited body shop familiarity pushed premiums higher, increasing total ownership exposure. That reality further reduced demand in the secondary market. At present conditions, the Lightning behaves less like a revolutionary product and more like a volatile asset caught between policy ambition and market readiness. Capability remains, but confidence does not. And confidence is what supports value. Value unraveled at electric speed here, setting the stage for a model squeezed by comparison and expectation. Chevrolet Colorado ZR. 2. Ambition becomes expensive when the market decides the size equation no longer works. The Colorado ZR2 arrived carrying heavy expectations, positioned as a factory built off road statement meant to challenge established midsize legends. Pricing reflected that confidence, climbing into territory once reserved for larger trucks with broader appeal. During 2022 and 2023, limited availability and aggressive marketing supported those numbers, but the foundation underneath was fragile. As supply increased, reality set in quickly. Buyers began comparing capability per dollar, and the math stopped favoring the Colorado. Auction results revealed accelerating depreciation, with units clearing far below earlier transactions after only short ownership windows. Dealers adjusted appraisals downward as listings lingered, and refund pressure followed as expectations collided with resale reality. The emotional reversal was swift. The ZR2 promised exclusivity and purpose, yet found itself trapped between two audiences. Enthusiasts questioned whether it delivered enough advantage over rivals, while mainstream shoppers balked at paying near full-size money for a mid-size platform. That identity gap widened as incentives appeared on new inventory, compressing used values even further. Production volume amplified the decline. Once the pipeline filled, scarcity disappeared, and pricing power evaporated. As newer builds competed directly with earlier ones, depreciation accelerated instead of stabilizing. Trade offers softened, private listings stalled, and wholesale buyers refused to speculate on a trim caught in a narrowing demand band. At present conditions, the Colorado ZR2 behaves less like a specialty vehicle and more like a pricing miscalculation exposed by a tightening market. Capability remains intact, but perception drives value, and perception has shifted decisively. When alternatives offer more size, power, or reputation at similar prices, hesitation becomes unavoidable. Positioning failed quietly, while the next entry shows how economics can overpower raw capability. Ram 2500 diesel. Strength becomes a liability when the economics behind it no longer add up. The 2500 diesel once symbolized durability, torque, and long-term confidence in the heavy-duty segment. That reputation carried pricing strength through 2021 and 2022, when demand for towing capability appeared unstoppable. But the market changed faster than expected, and diesel economics turned from advantage to obstacle. Fuel costs climbed, maintenance complexity became harder to ignore, and emission system concerns reshaped ownership math. As production volumes from 2021 lease cycles returned to the market, supply pressure intensified. Auction results followed quickly, with units clearing thousands below prior expectations and bids thinning across regions. Dealers adjusted by tightening appraisals, extending days on lot, and cutting exposure to diesel inventory. Refund pressure surfaced as owners recognized that similar trucks were advertised for far less than remaining loan balances. The emotional impact runs deeper than spreadsheets. Heavy-duty ownership assumes payoff over time, but accelerated depreciation breaks that promise. Emission system repairs, fuel price volatility, and shifting priorities around. Simplicity pushed hesitation into the segment. Once hesitation appears, value erosion compounds. What makes this reversal especially severe is timing. Higher interest rates magnified already expensive purchases, turning once manageable payments into ongoing stress. Financing tightened, lender confidence softened, and resale expectations collapsed almost simultaneously. That convergence removed the safety net diesel trucks historically relied on. Durability stopped insulating value here, leaving one final truck that redefined depreciation altogether: Rivian R1T. Hype collapses fastest when pricing authority disappears overnight. The R1T entered the pickup market wrapped in innovation, optimism, and scarcity-driven demand. Early deliveries during 2022 created a narrative of inevitability where electric trucks were assumed to hold value through novelty alone. That assumption shattered once pricing discipline broke. Repeated manufacturer price reductions reset expectations instantly. New trucks were repriced downward in sharp steps, and every adjustment erased equity for existing owners without warning. Wholesale markets reacted immediately, with auction results plunging far below prior transactions, and bids thinning with each successive run. Confidence deteriorated faster than hardware ever could. Questions about long-term company stability began circulating alongside concerns about parts availability and service support. When uncertainty surrounds a manufacturer, depreciation accelerates regardless of product quality. Buyers price and risk first, and capability second. Usability limitations amplified hesitation. Real-world towing range collapsed under load. Charging infrastructure failed to support long-distance hauling, and the bed configuration narrowed appeal. Insurance costs rose sharply as repair complexity and limited certified shops pushed premiums higher. Ownership math turned hostile. Refund pressure followed naturally. Early adopters watched identical trucks advertised for dramatically less than what they paid months earlier. That emotional shock is devastating, and it poisons secondary market demand almost instantly. Listings sat, discounts widened, values slid again. At auction, R1T units began clearing at levels rarely seen for vehicles barely a year old. Depreciation compressed into a single cycle, delivering losses normally spread across many years. No pickup in modern history has experienced a faster collapse. The R1T now stands as the clearest evidence that the truck market correction is already here, not coming later. What follows is the reckoning phase, where remaining inventory resets, expectations harden, and the broader market absorbs the consequences next. The fallout will reshape pricing logic everywhere, and the closing summary will connect every loss into a single, unavoidable market conclusion for everyone watching closely. This crash isn't speculation anymore. It's already visible in auctions, dealer appraisals, and incentive data nationwide. Some trucks lost years of value in months, and the correction isn't finished. In markets like this, information is leverage. If this breakdown helped you see what's really happening, hit like to support real market analysis, subscribe for weekly updates, and comment below with the truck that shocked you most, or the one you think drops next.